What's up, everyone? Welcome back to the Growing the 75% series. This is episode 5. Today, we'll be walking through what lower B looks like for me on my split as I come back from left shoulder surgery. If you missed episode 1, where I explained my full split in detail, how and why I'm doing what I'm doing, and kind of how I got injured, you can check that out in a link that I'll attach above, as well as a link in the description to the Growing the 75% series. As well, you can also find videos of me explaining my 3 other days in this split in that series. But today we're getting into the nitty gritty of what lower B looks like for me. This is a glute focus session, so without further ado, let's get into the session. All right, so we start off on this beautiful hammer strength hip thrust machine. This is really incredible right now as I can't do any hinging or really any squatting patterns. So I definitely need a little bit of glute stimulus, and this is kind of checking that box. Not quite the lengthened position that we get from hinging movements, but you see this hammer strength machine is set up so well. The pad is super comfortable, and I can take these to failure pretty easily, and we can crank out some reps there. So I'll superset that with an arm movement, just the standard cable hammer rope curl here. You see me leaning backwards a little bit, kind of angling away from the cable stack because this is a short bias movement, and I'm just trying to get a little bit more tension at the bottom there. You see me kind of almost flexing my tricep at the bottom of the movement too. That's just trying to accentuate that stretch position, and you can see me kind of crank out some partials at the end. Not being too afraid of letting some body English influence the movement and just taking that all the way to the house. The next superset up is a single leg press starting out here. This is really trying to be glute focused, a hip dominant leg press. So foot high up on the pad. The range of motion is limited at the hip, certainly not the knee. It looks like I'm sort of like cheating because I'm not going very deep here, but I assure you that you can see my leg pressing up against my stomach there. So I'm doing all the range of motion I can at the hip, and you see me cranking out some forced partials at the end here with my other leg. That's a really unique factor that comes into play on single leg pressing movements. You can help yourself with your other leg, which is a nice switch up from just like the standard Bulgarian split squat or lunge variation. All right, going into adductors machine here. I love this machine. You see me, I'm unclipping my sling so I can grip the bottom of the machine. I am allowed to do that. So I take full advantage of being able to hold myself down in the seat. And you see me including just a few extra inches of range of motion with the pads there as I crank out a few partials to finish that set. And now we're going into some hammer strength tricep pressing here. This is also a superset with the adductor machine. And what I like to focus on here is really letting my elbow go to that full stretch position. So I'll be honest, it is a little cumbersome trying to set up with just one arm. You see my arm tends to try and push off the pad. But the way the force curve in the machine is, it really has a lot of tension in that deep stretch position. So I grip the handle at the very end of the handle so I can actually achieve that full elbow flexion and then crank out as many partials as I can at the end. See, this session I'm also training calves. So the only way that I can really get myself hyped up for calf movements like this is to do them myo rep style. And if you haven't heard of myo reps, it's essentially where you do an initial pretty high rep set. I would say anywhere from 10 to 20 reps. And then from there, you take little short rest pauses. So about anywhere from 20 to 30 seconds in between reps. In my case, I just count 6 breaths. And you do as many mini sets as you feel appropriate for that session. So you see me take a rest second here and then hop right back into it. Now I'm doing calf presses on the leg press, because the typical standing calf machine, or just even like standing calf raise on a Smith machine, I can't get my shoulder into a position to actually hold on to any kind of padding there. So I do these on the leg press. I'm able to hold myself down in the seat pretty well. You can see my legs getting really deep into ankle flexion there, and that just allows the calves to be maximally stretched. I do like to pause at the bottom of each rep here, and I really let the tension in the Achilles tendon dissipate. Because if you let your calf raises bounce, the Achilles tendon is the longest tendon in the body, and it stores a lot of elastic energy. And so that is actually primarily what makes you like explosive off jumping movements. And you can actually like preferentially train your Achilles tendon and connective tissue if you don't let that tension kind of dissipate and go into that full stretch at the bottom of the movement. So I've forgotten exactly how many rest pauses I did here. I believe it was about 1, 2, 3, 4 to 5, and that's pretty standard. So the first set is about 10 to 15 reps, and then each subsequent mini set, I try and get at least 5. Like I said, I'm counting 6 breaths in between each mini set, and if I notice my reps drop below 5, I will give myself a little bit of extra time, just because I found that's the best way to get the most stimulus out of this movement. And here we go, setting up for the last set here. I also make some pretty funny facial expressions while I'm doing my set, so I get a little bit of face stimulus there, I guess, face hypertrophy. But you also see me adjusting my knees a little bit. I pretty much lock out my knees on this movement. I really like how the straight leg feels. It feels safe. You can't quite see, but there is a good amount of weight on the leg press here. I think 4 plates aside. And I have no concerns as far as safety goes with my knees, so I lock them out fully there, and we finish off that Maya rep calf set. And then at the end of every session, I'm throwing in some BFR, curls and extensions. You see me laying down because it gets my shoulder and elbow in a fully supported position, so I'm not having to do any stabilization at the shoulder. And then working up, I started off with 5-pound weights here, all the way up to the 7.5 pounds. So what can I say? Basically right back where I was, right? And this is a really unique feeling movement. I'm thinking about keeping this in for my right side because it is allowing the maximum amount of tension at the movement to occur when the bicep is at its most lengthened position. And that's pretty unique. You don't get that in a lot of curls. And it's seemingly the growing body of evidence in the hypertrophy study space is showing that tension at a long muscle length is a good thing for muscle growth and may be more growth promoting than the tension in the short position. So supersetting that right there on the same bench with some kind of lying extensions. I prefer to do these on a cable. It's a little cumbersome and stability is kind of odd doing them with a single dumbbell, but I'm not ready to handle enough weight on that side. The cable stacks at this gym start at 12 pounds, and you see 7.5 pounds there is plenty for me, and that's about all I can handle for now. So I'll crank those out, basically just partial status the whole way through. There's not much tension at lockout, so I don't even bother to mess with that. And the goal of blood flow restriction is to build up that metabolite stress in the muscle. So I don't lock out there. I keep the sort of constant tension bra. It just feels better for blood flow restriction training in that setting. And yeah, that's how I finish lower B with some arm work, because who doesn't want to leave the gym without an arm pump? All right, guys, thank you so much for sitting with me and watching me go through lower B with you. This is the 4th and final day of the split. Again, this is Growing the 75% episode 5. If you missed any other videos, go check out the playlist that I linked down below. You can also find a link to a sample spreadsheet of that split that I made. I believe it's a good split, even if you're not limited by a shoulder injury. So go check that out. I appreciate you sticking with me and walking through lower B. I look forward to seeing you in that next video, which I think is going to cover diet. So I know everyone loves full days of eating, so we're gonna knock one of those out. I will catch you in that next one, and remember, stay jacked.